Welcome to episode 44 of Hair Biz Radio with your host Zakiyrah and
Mikey.
And we are joined today with Dwayne, who is a payment specialist, risk and analysis, and he is going to be talking to us today about some things that we need to talk about in the hair industry, because the hair industry is definitely a high risk for fraud, scammers, and all that extra good stuff.
Yeah, this is a really important episode for you guys to listen to in detail, maybe even twice, because one of the biggest downfalls and issues with your business will be fraud. And so, Dwayne, give us a little bit of background, what your experience is with the industry, so they know how absolutely legit you are, because I know you are, because you're in my office and I know you very well.
So my background is I've worked in several different areas of fraud. I've worked in insurance fraud. I've worked on the credit card side, and I'm currently working on the merchant side for fraud. Now, when dealing with or talking about hair specifically, we're starting to notice that it is high risk because merchants, unfortunately, send the goods out and they sometimes get lost in the post, or the consumer says that they haven't received it and then raises a chargeback. Unfortunately, that results in a loss of goods for the merchant, and then they have to also pay the customer back for the goods that they were supposed to supply. So it could result in a double loss. So that's where you need to be careful the most.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Can we get into this accent, though? Where are you from?
I'm from a town 2 hours away from London called Bristol. It's kind of like a London accent, but but I reside in Toronto at the moment. So my accent may be kind of mixed.
Yeah.
Okay. You got that little bit of the A at the end. So when I'm in Canada, I practice my Canadian speaking by, I just add A at the end of everything, and it kind of like fit in.
Drink A.
Yeah. And then when I come back into it, people always say like, "Oh, what country are you from?" Just by adding the A. It's just so simple, but it's kind of funny. Or sometimes like in my messages, I'll do like at the end, comma, EH question mark, like A. It works out pretty well. But one of those things, Zakiyrah and I talk about it all the time with fraud and everything else. It's so important for the hair extension, for you guys that are hair extensions, or really any business owner, to really focus on building your relationship with the merchant. Right. I know a lot of times we'll see messages like in our Facebook group of people freaking out because they're like, "Oh my God, so-and-so processor is holding my payments," and they don't understand why. Can you maybe give us a little insight of exactly why a payment processor would hold somebody's payments?
Absolutely. So I think the most important thing is we have to understand the merchant's business. So as a payment gateway provider and an acquirer, your acquiring bank, some people don't understand that the liability lies on us first. So say, for example, if the merchant can't afford to pay the money straight away, it's our responsibility to ensure that the customer gets their money back. So when we're taking on that risk, we have a risk appetite, what's known as a risk appetite. And we have to understand how your business works to assess that risk appetite. Now, unfortunately, we have to put payments on hold whilst we're doing this risk assessment. The idea is not to panic, to provide all the information, as much detailed information as possible, and be patient with the review. It takes us some time to validate and do our due diligence on the company. So it can take sometimes up to 72 hours for us to conclude the review. But just be patient and make sure you have any kind of like support, or if you have extra capital, or something that you can go to whilst your account is on review, just so you can continue to process and supply your customers with the goods and services that you promised.
Good. So we have some people who will say, well, how long does it take for me to build that relationship with my payment processor before they stop holding my funds? So can you talk about the process of building a relationship with the payment processor?
Yeah, absolutely. So it can take, we will still do due diligence at any point, especially if we see a high risk order, we'll do due diligence there. So normally a good relationship is after about 120 days. So it can take, 120 days, 4 months to build that relationship. But that's not set in stone. It can be an individual analyst wants further details. You have, banking partners that we have to answer to. They could request further details from you. And it could not be coming from the acquiring bank side at all. It could be coming from somebody behind the scenes. So generally, yes, 120 days, but just be prepared. And at all times, I could advise hair merchants to just be prepared for anything that may come up.
Yeah. So like everyone who's just starting off with their hair business, if you're like, oh my God, I got my first order, but PayPal's holding it for umpteen days, just relax. It's going to take a while to build that relationship with your payment processor. And that's something that Mikey and I talk about a lot.
Yeah, I think some key points there, some takeaways is be detailed, because some people thinks that they just send some like one sentence message and that they're detailed. Like you really have to provide all the documentation possible for this to go smoothly. And you say 120 days, but you got to remember in those 120 days, if you got 2 orders, that's not too much of a relationship builder, right?
Yeah.
So it could be like 100 or 200 orders that go well before really starting to build that relationship. So take that into mind. It's, it could be length or transactions, because they need a history of transactions. I can even tell you, just a couple weeks ago, I know at Private Label Extensions, PayPal reached out to us and wanted a ton of additional documentation, which our bookkeeping, everything is about as detailed as a company is going to get. So it was very easy to provide that. So make sure you have that information really organized. And we've done over 8 figures in transactions with PayPal, and they still ask for it. Now, they didn't say we're going to hold any money, obviously, or do anything else. But still, after tens of thousands of transactions, they have like a random audits that they're going to do. And they're going to say, hey, we need the last 6 months bank statements. We need this. We need, supplier info. I mean, a ton of information, which I was happy to give them, because I know they're just trying to make processing transactions better and working with more legit companies. So I appreciate it. I said, you know what? This is no problem. Thank you for, going into detail with this.
Yeah. And I think you picked up on one important thing. Detail is everything. Unfortunately, sometimes I know that everything is done via cell phones and you can just take screenshots of things and send it through. Those are not enough when you are dealing with a payment provider / acquiring bank. You need to make sure you're providing them with detailed invoices, with dates, with itemized listings of what you're purchasing and who you're purchasing it from. And yeah, absolutely. Just keep everything detailed and keep a binder, if not, of all your invoices and all your bank statements. So when you come onto these reviews, you have it already prepared. And absolutely, yeah, detailed invoices and stay prepared.
Yeah, so just like sending a WhatsApp message or some text message is probably not going to cut it. So when you're ordering from a legitimate supplier, they should be sending you invoices. If you're ordering online with us, obviously you get that, or even with private label wholesale, like everything is very detailed. So if you're working with us, which I obviously hope you are, and we're providing you the best hair. So if you're working with us, this would be like not a big deal at all, especially because, if you're dealing with overseas vendors, sometimes you're going to Google this person and they have some really crappy website.
Yeah.
They don't look legitimate at all. There's no like news or press about them. So that's what's so great about working with private label extensions. So I'm not, but let's get back to some more payment processing. So, what are some more of the things to look out for when, I know some of our clients, they get too excited when they get like a big order.
Yeah.
And it'll be like all the red flags of kind of what we look for. And I'm just like, I make sure I say, if it's through one of our drop shipping apps or something like that, I'm like, this looks like 100% fraud. What are some of the things that you've seen that just makes a transaction look a little bit like a little risky?
Yeah, large volumes, as you said. And shipping internationally, for example, even across state. Those are one of the warning signs that we try and, advise our merchants of. Why are they shipping across state? Why is this card registered in, say, for example, New York State and it's being sent to California? A lot of people rely on the system or the acquiring bank to flag it for you and say, this is a fraudulent transaction. but the system's not perfect. It works on algorithms, and fraudsters are always developing new ways to get around our fraud detection systems. So just keep an eye out for anything that's shipped internationally, anything that's shipped across region, and also just pay attention to the customer's details. Do your due diligence there. Does this telephone number link back? There's a lot of free tools that you can find online, say, for example, US Phone Book, where you can type the telephone number in and it will tell you if it matches the person that you have on file.
Oh, wow.
Is it being sent to a location, a remote location, for example? I've seen hair merchants that have sent goods to a reception in a hotel. That's not the best thing to do. It's better to send it to the billing address, so when the chargeback arises, you have some good evidence that you did your due diligence and you made sure that you sent it to the cardholder. If it was signed and received at the billing address by the cardholder, it puts you in a very strong position. Whereas if you send it to a remote location, unfortunately, there's not much to defend your business there.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we share with people a lot and that's one thing that we do at Private Label Extensions is we only ship orders to the billing address. And then we do the fraud protection. So we have them send in their ID to make sure it matches the information on the card. So that's just a step that we take. But if we rewind, why do you think the hair industry is such high risk? Why is there so much fraud going on in the hair industry?
That is a difficult question, and that's a question that we're forever asking. And I've been in conversations with other risk analysts, and I think education is the most important thing. Providing merchants with the education that they need in this industry. It sometimes can be, I don't know how to put this, it can be overwhelming for new hair merchants that are doing or providing hair. And unfortunately, the value of the hair is very expensive as well. It's 300, 200, 300 pounds and dollars sometimes. It's such currency. So yeah, it's a lot of people want it, and a lot of people will try and get it without having to pay, those high prices. But to tell you the truth, I do not know, and it's going to be forever debated why it's such a high risk. But there are signs like the value and the quality as well. So
I think it's one of those things that hair is not really trackable. Right? So if we send, someone just got a big box of hair, there's no like barcodes, it's not like an iPhone where it's like track my iPhone, stuff like that. And it's also something that's just really easy to resell, right? And that's why our, everyone that works with us that's selling the hair, a lot of them are killing it because it's easy to sell the hair. So it's just one of those kind of high risk things. Sending to the billing address is really key. Signature confirmation. I know a lot of people are like, well, it costs extra money to do that. And but it costs a lot more extra money because if a scammer sees that you don't have these policies in place, they will tell all their scammer friends. All of a sudden you thought that your website's on fire and you're getting all these sales and everything else. Next thing you know, literally all the chargebacks come in and you're wiped out.
And remember that a lot of hair merchants make the mistake of thinking that when the chargeback comes in, it's us that make the choice. It is not us, it's the branding company. So MasterCard, Visa, they will make the decision on whether to uphold the chargeback or to reject it. So what we're doing is we're collating all that information to present to them, not to somebody within our department that knows your business or knows what we're doing. So you have to think of it like you're presenting it to somebody who knows nothing about the business at all.
Exactly.
Collate all the documentation, show them what you're doing, show them what you've provided, show them the goods and services coming in and being sent out, and it should, it will put you in a much stronger position that way.
And
I was going to say one thing too, like that a lot of people don't know. If you're packing and shipping your own orders and you use a company like USPS, one of the issues is you can call USPS and have your package just picked up at the station or something like that. And that's what a lot of people with fraud are doing. One of the reasons why we ship FedEx on pretty much all valuable packages is we kind of went above and beyond. And a lot of people don't know this. You can actually call FedEx, give them your account number, and you basically say the highest the highest secure way to ship the packages is the packages will only go from where it's shipping to the destination. There is no calling pickup at the FedEx office. There is no rerouting. Even if we ship a package from here today, FedEx, and it goes on its way, it's been scanned. If I, the owner of the company, calls and says, oh no, I want it to go to a different address, FedEx says, we don't care what you want. It's either going to the billing address or coming back to you.
Yeah.
That's it. And actually, when I was on the phone with the FedEx representative, he's like, this is exactly what Nike does. Because Nike's another one of those products where, you get these shoes. I mean, I see people on Instagram selling a bunch of shoes out of their trunk. And I'm just like, I mean, I'm sure it's legit. But but I mean, it's just one of those products that it's like, it's easy to resell. You can get that cash really quick. And that's why they do the same thing. So I'm sure they've learned their lessons, as we have. But, it's really important for the hair merchants to really not just listen to this, but take action, because, we're probably one of the biggest advocates of educating people in the hair industry to reduce fraud. So maybe if we're all just got on the same page and level, all the fraudsters, they can go to another industry, go play with CBD or something like that, like something else, So that's why it's so important, to have you on, kind of help educate not just our clients, but everybody everyone in the hair industry. Like we're all in this together. It's big enough for all of us. So it's so important.
Yeah. And you mentioned being very detail oriented, and we know a lot of times that the payment processors favorite the customers versus the actual merchant. So what are some things that the merchant can do besides being detail oriented when it comes to making sure they win a chargeback?
I have to correct you there. I don't think the payment processors favor their customers. I think it's the brand, the company.
The MasterCard, Visa.
They unfortunately, it's easier for them to uphold the chargeback, in the customer's favor. Now, the merchant has to come in and provide strong evidence, and it can be done. I've seen it done. But unfortunately, when we're faced with screenshots with no details, it just doesn't put the merchant in a good position. And a lot of times the merchant doesn't stay prepared. It is a business that you're running. I know it may be new and you're excited to get that first transaction through. Yeah. But you still need to have all documentation and start collating all documentation, putting it into a folder and knowing where every order is going to. And essentially keeping that for at least 120 days, because a lot of merchants don't know that they have 120 days to raise a chargeback or a dispute. So it could happen 2 months after you've sent the goods and services. And it's no good if we come to you 2 months later and say, where's this documentation? And you say, I threw it away. So that's often why the customer is put in a better position than the merchant.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we've had people try it even longer. I don't remember that we've had some. I can say we win a lot of our chargeback cases just because we are so incredibly strict. We would rather at this point lose a sale than even take a sale that's slightly risky. Like, we're good. We don't need it. Like, we're fine. We have an awesome base of clients that love us. So, if you're somebody new that comes on one of our platforms, we do our due diligence on this and make sure that they're really legit, because otherwise we will get screwed 1,000%. By the way, Zakiyrah, your lashes are looking phenomenal today. Maybe it's the light or whatever, but
really, I actually made them myself.
No, you didn't.
Joking.
I was like, I'm going to say this, but I'm praying they're PLE lashes, and you can tell me which ones they are.
Yeah, these are Dubai. Actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, Dubai's popular.
No, they're Shanghai.
Oh.
Yeah, I always wear Shanghai.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now I do, yeah. Yeah, these are Shanghai.
Shanghai lashes.
And I've actually had these for a couple months. So I've worn these actually more than 25 times.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good little testimonial there, guys. The lashes over 25 wears. Yeah, the lashes is a great business. I love the lashes.
Oh, yeah, the lashes are really good. Yeah.
Does anyone say, have you heard people complain about like lashes being high risk, or is it mostly just hair?
It was previously seen as a high risk business, but it's come down now just due to the volume. And,
okay.
That's true.
Due to the value as well. A lot of people are shipping with tracking and defending that. It's the value of the hair mainly that's making it very high risk, and just again, merchants not doing correct due diligence on those orders.
Yeah, it's just so important. And, we definitely learned a lesson. So, I mean, we're not sitting here and saying, some high horse or whatever the saying is, and say we haven't made any mistakes and stuff like that. We've just have kind of, learned our lessons over time. And every time something happens, we figure out, okay, how did they get away with this?
Yeah.
What new system can we put in place so it doesn't happen again, and kind of fail forward, just like pretty much everything else in business. So it's just that high value just gets really, really tough, especially, someone like us that ship orders, sometimes $5,000-$6,000 orders. And it's like, it's a little scary. Like
It is.
It's definitely a little scary, just because, that would be a painful chargeback.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, we've had them, we've actually had them. So it's just kind of tough. What are some other things that you've seen as far as mistakes or just some advice for hair merchants that they can improve something that they're doing, or some kind of common things that you see?
The good thing is that your payment gateway provider / acquiring bank is there for you. You are a customer of theirs. If you're not sure of something, or if you even need literature on how to prevent fraud, they're there for you. That information is there for you. I don't see enough hair merchants contacting their payment processor to say, I don't know, I'm not too sure about it. It's okay to have questions about transactions. You don't have to know everything from the ground running. So contact your payment provider, ask questions. You do pay them a service, and we're here to help you as well.
Yeah, I think that's really important. There's definitely times where we've reached out to, our payment processor and such, but I think that's a really good tip, because you got to remember, you are paying them. I mean, you're paying, they're getting a percentage of that transaction. So it's really important. And I think it also helps build a relationship, just because if you're calling in, you might start to know more people. When you get a little bit larger, like us, we pretty much have dedicated account reps for, everybody we do business with. So that's is great when you can get to that level, just because it makes it a lot easier. They know your business. Like when we call in, like if I try to call PayPal to talk to customer service, I can't even get one. They have my number. It's just right away routed to our our dedicated rep, and it makes it so much easier. So, use that as something that, it's another reason why you really want to grow your business, because once you can get to the point where you have a rep, I don't know what the exact amount is, or like with some of the processors, I'm sure it's different with everyone, how much you have to process with them to get to that point. But it is very helpful once you do get to that point, because, it'll be a big help.
Yeah.
It'll be a big help. Zakiyrah, what else do you think you've seen, like just comments in the group and other things? What do you think a lot of people are struggling with when it comes to payment processing?
Well, I know a lot of people ask the question, which payment processor is better for me to go with? Do you have any that you suggest?
I wouldn't suggest anything. I would say do your research, basically. You will know there's a ton of payment providers out there. Whichever one you choose for your business, absolutely go forward with it. You got to factor in the different rates as well. That will have a huge impact on your business. If you go one that's charging you a higher rate, then evidently you need to think about, if something goes wrong, do you have enough capital there to support the business if we do need to put your payments on hold. If you're fulfilling and they're taking a huge chunk of your payments, you're going to end up losing money there. So just do your research. That's the most important thing.
For sure.
Is there an advantage or disadvantage to using, say, a smaller payment processor opposed to, probably one of the big 5 or 10 that are out there currently?
I think with the larger processors, you get more support.
Okay.
And when you're looking at it from a risk perspective, you need that support.
Yeah.
And if you're new and to the hair industry and you're just starting your first business, it's great to have that behind you. Again, I just saying what I said before, a lot of merchants in other industries contact us and say, we need help. We don't understand this. We don't understand that transaction. Not enough hair merchants are doing that. So just for extra security, I would say initially, if if you're starting a new business, hair business, go for one of the larger ones where you have that support and education.
So clearly, Dwayne is very educated in this area, based off of what we've been talking about. But how long have you been in the industry?
Oh, over 10 years. I've been doing different things. So I did insurance fraud initially, and then I moved into payment gateway provider, and then I moved into the credit card side. And then I actually went into a shop and did the chargebacks for them. And then I moved back into the payment gateway provider again.
Nice. So what got you interested in this field?
I loved when, so after I graduated from university, I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I was told about this fraud department. I was working for an insurance company on the telephones. And I was told about this fraud department. I was like, you have that? And so I applied for a job there and I didn't get it. So I applied again and they said no again. And I applied the third time and I was like, you know what? Third time is the best. And they said no. But then after the third time, they called me back and they said, look, we have an opening. It's not, you can be on the support team, but it'll give you the experience that you need to get to up to being a full, insurance fraud investigator. So I took it and then worked my way out from there.
Well, talk about how you felt when you got all the no's, because even when you talk about fraud, there's a lot of people in the hair industry who, they may get their first order, but it's a fraudulent order. And then they're kind of like, well, dang, this didn't work. And then maybe they get another fraudulent order and they get discouraged. So what was something that helped you kind of get through those no's?
You have to be passionate. You have to be tenacious as well. And you have to keep on going despite, whatever circumstances may arise. Yes, this order may be the wrong order, or it may have been a bad order or a high risk order, and they have to hold it for 90 days. But that doesn't mean that the rest of them are going to be bad. Just be tenacious, be motivated, and know that one day that good transaction will come through. Yeah. And you don't know who that could be for. You never know. It could be for a celebrity. It could be for somebody who knows or is looking for a good supplier. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, and you see what happens when you just be tenacious. You get the job.
Tenacious. Dwayne over here, Tenacious D. It's funny because I remember my first e-commerce business. I actually started in 2006. That's about 13 years ago.
Mikey just dated himself.
I know. So 13 years ago, started my first e-commerce business. I'll never forget it. I was actually selling food online. I had a sauce company. And which selling food online in 2006 was like, nobody's selling food online. Yeah. But I was like, I'm going to sell food online, And I'll never forget, talking about like those first orders. I'll never forget, like I set up PayPal. And I think that's like who I used back then. And I'll never forget like the first order. And I see like order confirmation email. I'm like, oh my God. And I see it. And it was like my mom. Because I was down in Atlanta and she was up in DC. Yeah. And then like order confirmation. It was my grandmother. And then it was like order confirmation. It was my mom's friend. And then it took like weeks to get even with ads and trying to do everything. And then it was like the first order. And I'll never forget, it was some lady in California. And I saw it and I was like, nobody knows her. And I was jumping up and down, screaming like a girl because I got like my first real order. It's such an amazing thing. Yeah. And hats off to anybody that's got an order online. It's not as easy as you would think. And, there's a lot of people that talk about, support from friends and family. There's actually, at the time of recording this, there's this big thing about like the Chick-fil-A sandwich and the Popeye sandwich.
Popeyes.
And so,
wait, before you start, which one do you like better, Chick-fil-A or Popeyes?
Popeyes.
Oh, really?
He's never had Chick-fil-A.
Oh, you didn't take him to Chick-fil-A?
Huh?
You didn't take him to Chick-fil-A?
No, not yet.
Oh, God. Okay, so before you leave tomorrow, you have to go to Chick-fil-A and have a sandwich.
Have Chick-fil-A at the airport.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you could do that too. Yeah. I haven't had the Popeye sandwich.
I haven't had either. I don't know. I haven't had the Popeyes for sure. But, it's one of those things where someone had posted, like, oh, if, my friends could support me, like a Popeye sandwich, like where's the support? Like everyone's supporting some stupid Popeye sandwich, but, here I am, you're a good friend and I get no support or no love.
Yeah.
And what I commented on there was, and it's actually pretty simple. What I commented was, people can understand a Popeye's chicken sandwich.
Yeah.
Most people that have never owned and ran a business do not understand what it's like to own and run a business.
Yeah.
So that's why there's I feel like such a lack of support, is because they just don't know how difficult it is. But eating that chicken sandwich from Popeyes or Chick-fil-A, they good. Definitely understand it, and they can talk about it, and they can share it. Like, this stuff's getting shared, like, it's all gone viral and everything else. I think even McDonald's on the 11th is coming out with their own.
Oh yeah, all the fast food places are eating it up. But to a point, I think it's that we put so much pressure on people to support us and the things that we have going on. But you have to realize your friend isn't your friend to support you. They may not like the T-shirt that you put out. Like, they might like to go to H&M and buy T-shirts. So you can't be upset with a friend for not supporting your business if it's not something that they actually need or want. So I'm very insensitive, or I don't really care if my friends don't support me. They do, but if I had products that they just didn't want, it wouldn't faze me, because you need to get in front of your target audience, and your friends aren't necessarily your target audience. So for people who are in the hair industry and you're like, none of my friends are buying hair from me, maybe they don't wear hair extensions, or maybe they have a relationship with a company that they've been buying hair from for a very long time. So it's just like, you can't really depend on your friends and family to purchase the products and stuff that you have.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think we're living in a society, and I've heard it said like it's a microwave society. People want to press a button and like in 30 seconds it all blows up. Yeah. And a lot of people use that saying, I never use it, but it's on my grind, but they're not really on their grind. People just set up a website and expect it to come to them immediately. I think, and then turn around and say, okay, my friend should be supporting me in that circumstance. Yeah. A business, especially a hair business, is a long-term investment. It's no quick fix. I know that we have all these cool payment processors and websites that will set up your business super, super fast, but you have to remember that it's a long-term investment, and you have to be on your grind. And being on your grind doesn't mean just setting it up. It means working, persevering when the bad orders come through, persevering when no orders come through. And then eventually you'll start to see those good orders, like exactly what you said, come through. And then you'll be jumping for joy, and you can network through that one as well. And that's how you get your business side up.
Yeah, one thing, actually, so there's been a lot of changes there's always going to be changes, but some of the changes in the payment processing. And one of those is the refunds. Right. So before, if you refunded $100 order, you basically would, or I did a refund for $100, like it's just $100. But now, basically, what credit card processors are doing is they're keeping the processing fee during the refunds. Have you seen this?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, so this is something new. So not all processors have done it yet, but I've seen like a lot. It's kind of like one started it and kind of got away with it. Yeah. And then the other ones, like, it's 6 months out, the new terms of service that you're agreeing to, you don't realize it, that, they're doing that. So like, if I refund a $100 order today, it's going to cost me, my rates in the twos. So, like $2, $3, something like that. You're not getting that full amount back. Because I don't think a lot of people don't realize there's a difference between like a merchant processor and then like Visa, and then you have like the big like American Express, Visa, MasterCard, and there is a separation between those. Yep. And it's just not everybody, consumers definitely not, but businesses don't always understand that there are levels, that it's not always just the payment processor. They're doing what Visa says, because it's not like you can just be like, well, you know what, I don't like Visa's decision, I'm not going to deal with Visa anymore. I don't think that's going to go so well. I don't think that's going to go so well. And your business needs to have credit cards. It's kind of funny to me, like, I don't know, have you guys ever gone to a store where it's like they don't accept American Express?
Oh yeah,
it drives me nuts. And I'll be like, I know why. And it just happened, I forgot where, some restaurant, and they didn't accept an American Express. And that's why I always carry a Visa. I'm very American Express loyal because I have a good relationship with them. And still, even your credit card companies build a good relationship, especially for business. And I had to ask, and I already knew the answer, but it's like, hey, why don't you accept American Express? And they're like, oh, they charge us too much money. And I'm like, you got to be careful with that. I would never, for that, it's like 0.5% more or something like that, I would never not take a card just for like that 0.5%. You have to build that into your cost.
Yeah.
Because,
and they probably lose a lot of money.
I mean, right? I wouldn't like if it's something where if I was crazier than I already am about like the rewards points and the sky miles and all that.
Yeah.
If I couldn't get like points, I definitely, I don't know, I would consider not going there. If it was something expensive,
Yeah.
But that's something like a lot of people need to be, careful of is, you start getting $300 orders. That's almost $10 in transaction fees that you could be losing. So it's really important to have like a really good system. So you're not refunding all these orders and like make sure that you have all your policies in place for people to understand where even it could be a legitimate order, but you have some sort of security measure in place and you don't want to be refunding all these because it can get expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Very expensive. Very, very expensive.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things that I think, we wanted to have you on today just because I know you are the expert when it comes to payments for hair extensions. You have more experience than most people in the world. There are a few people in this world.
Yeah.
But it's just one of our missions is to help the hair industry as a whole, whether they're buying, tons of hair extensions on our new privatelabelwholesale.com website. The privatelabelwholesale.com, by the way, is blowing up.
Oh, it is. That's Mikey's third time shamelessly plugging.
Well, we don't have ads on here. If you want to be an advertiser on Hair Biz Radio, make sure you hit us up. We'll eventually probably have an ad or two just so we seem like super legit podcasts. All legit podcasts have ads. You almost not to have ads make us less legit seeming, even though we have... It was like, what did I say the other day? How many downloads do we have so far?
Over 65,000.
Yeah, over 65,000 downloads, not including YouTube views and everything else. So, good amount of people are listening, and we do appreciate that.
Oh, for sure.
And, we are in season 2, so we're excited to have, like, awesome guests and people that can really raise the value if you listen to what the man is saying, of your business and make it better for everybody.
Yeah. So before we go, what's one piece of advice that you could share with people who are just getting into the hair industry and they're just kind of navigating and figuring out which payment processor they're going to use? Any tips that you have?
I would just say, just repeating what I said before, just choose your payment provider carefully, factor in the fees, of course, that you're going to be paying per transaction. Make sure you keep a note of all kinds of, what goods and services you have coming in or goods and services you have going out, and just keep a record of everything. And just be strong, be tenacious, and remember that it may not come tomorrow, it may not come next week, but eventually, hopefully, touch wood, it will come, and you'll be elated when it does.
Love it, love it. So thanks for hanging out with Mikey and I today.
You're welcome.
Dwayne is leaving us tomorrow to go back to Canada.
Yes, Toronto.
Oh, yeah, amazing. So make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, YouTube, and on iTunes and iHeartMedia.
Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere now, wherever you listen to your podcast.
Everywhere.
Yeah, cool. So, thanks, guys.
We'll be back for episode 45 very soon.
All right, bye.